Welcome back to the CEO Bench. My name is Okila. The CEO Bench is a 1-hour program springing out of Uganda to the rest of the world, giving people an insight into the life of a CEO, either when they're retiring or when they are going up or when they're on the top. What is the journey like for a CEO? How does one get there? Today on the program, we have the CEO of Marketing Africa, Mr. William Kalombo, a seasoned marketer, a great thinker of marketing, breathes and thinks marketing even when he's sleeping. Mr. Kalombo, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Marketing in itself is something that most people don't understand very well. But you are a marketing professional and a CEO of a marketing company that is leading in East Africa. William, in your view, what is marketing, first of all?
It's the art of identifying consumer needs and delivering on them, even beyond them, at a profit to the owner of the brand.
William, I want to take you straight to some of the questions we designed for you today, which should be able to give us an understanding of a CEO befitting of a marketing company, but also as a viewer, what do I want to pick from a man who is on the top? You've been on this journey for a while. I want you to start by telling us, how did you think about starting Marketing Africa? What was the inspiration behind it? And what is Marketing Africa all about as a company?
When I was at the university, we had a publication. It was called the Marketing Review. And we were able to publish that magazine and get 18 full-page adverts at that time, which was a first. I've never seen it up to today. And we made a lot of money from the magazine. At the same time, we were running events as an association. We had an event every week for the 12 months that I led the association. We had industry tours. The most popular, of course, was to the brewery, which was happening every Thursday. So we grew the association to such a level that even the watchmen in the compound wanted to be members of the association because we had so many functions. We were giving a lot of giveaways. We started at that point a canteen. It took me about 4 months to get approvals from the VC to get this canteen, and through the support of my patron, Professor Francis Kibera. The resistance from the university was because they were not understanding what we want to use the canteen for. But what we were looking at that point was to get a laboratory-like scenario where students of business can come and try out the theories that we pick up from the classrooms. When we launched that canteen, I think we had about 1,000 people in Lower Kabete campus of the University of Nairobi. And we did one of the biggest Guinness promotions ever done up to today, where a lot of prizes were on the giveaway, on the list. It was a scenario where even saved people were participating in the activity because we had to buy a drink, get a voucher, and then get a raffle. Even saved people, you call them Mologol, I think, were participating in this scenario, so they win a prize and leave that beer there. So we started at that point. After university, I told you I worked for 12 months. Then I started a company that was doing below-the-line activities. So we are doing...
That's what we call in marketing BTL?
BTL, yes. So we did that for a while. And then I made a suicidal move to imagine that I can publish a magazine. Since I had done a very successful one in the university, I thought I can do it now commercially. So I set shop to do a magazine, and one of my board members, he gave us the magazine to do for the society. And that magazine had died. They had, the last 3 years, I think, they did 4 issues, 3 issues, 1 issue, then 0 issue. So we picked a dead publication, reawakened it, and it hit the highway. It was called Sokoni. When it picked...
I was a big reader of Sokoni Africa.
Yes, when it picked, some people, out of their own wisdom, imagined that they can micromanage us and extinguish us and take away the project and give it to somebody else.
As always in Africa?
which they did. So they took away the magazine from us on the claim that we didn't have a contract. So we are fired, literally. So we had publication knowledge, but we had no publication to do. That's how now Sokoni Africa was born. So we started doing Sokoni Africa, and the MSK sued us. They said, you can't use our name. You have to drop the name, look for your own name. So they took us to court, and we were in court for about 9 months. Within that window, we were able to publish, I think, 3 issues of Sokoni Africa. The courts ruled that until we clear the full case, the case is completely hard, we can't use the name. That week was, I think, the worst week we ever had in our office. And I remember our lawyer is called Mereka. He's a senior counsel in Kenya. We were in the same building. He came down and found everybody happy and jumpy, and he asked, you guys, we just lost the case. What is happening to you? We said we are fine. We said we are fine. So what happened a week after the court banned us from using Sokoni Africa, we launched Marketing Africa, which is Sokoni Africa in English.
Okay, just hold it right there and send that comment, because Kalombo has just hit something very interesting.
Yes, so that's how we launched the magazine.
So did they take you back to court this time around?
It is Marketing Africa, it's not Sokoni anymore. So there was no brand infringement anymore. So we were safe that way. Then we moved on like that. It hasn't been easy. Even Sokoni itself, when we started the magazine, I told you, when we were in university, I think we got a lot of favors and sympathy from the corporate. In the commercial space, it was very hard to sell space, because magazine, what drives a magazine is space, selling the adverts. And my imagination was that we will start this magazine. After the first issue, it will finance the next issue. I can tell you, it is the magazine, Sokoni, that collapsed my below-the-line business, because I got my first payment on the 6th magazine.
Wow. Wow. William, this whole story that you're talking about as a CEO of the great Marketing Africa Limited we see today, what does that remind you of in that journey? And by the way, were you the CEO? At what point did you become the team leader? Because I imagine that you had a group of people you're working with and you started together. How did you make it to become the CEO with all of that story? Is it because you won the case by losing it and winning it by starting Marketing Africa?
It's another issue. The question you raise touches on partnerships. You have social partnerships that have successfully collapsed in relationships. You have corporate partnerships that have collapsed. The irony is that you cannot become a multinational or a very big brand without partnerships. But on the flip side, a lot of the partners we pick them up emotively. And they end up collapsing you or slowing down your speed or vision or compromising it. The biggest trouble for businessmen is that you look at things, they tell us you must be passionate about what you do. If you look at every other passionate person, let me talk about relationships. The minute you are passionate with something, with a woman, with a man, you lose the ability to look at things objectively. From my world, I tell everybody, please try to be objective. Because when you are passionate, your eyes are completely blinded. You will never be objective. You can't pull back and say, this thing is flopping, can I leave it? We must accept the fact that business will collapse. If your passion is in there and it collapses, you are gone. You have one life. In a lifespan, you can run 10 different businesses. We've seen people who thought their biggest line is manufacturing. They end up becoming the best musicians. You can pivot, isn't it? So we should divorce from this idiocracy that passion must be my driver in anything I do.
I'd rather be more objective in everything we do. Wow, you are tuned to the CEO Bench. My name is Okila, of course, with Mr. Kalombo, the CEO of Marketing Africa. And we would like to hear from you. Send your kisses and disses coming. If you have a question for Mr. Kalombo, we'll definitely answer it on the show, either on the comment section of the program. And of course, share it far and wide. Make sure it gets to your grandmother, your grandfather, your cousins, your nephews. We're not leaving anyone behind in Africa, particularly when we're talking about a very serious topic on leadership and marketing of Africa. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that with William. William, that said and done, the story of Marketing Africa is very compelling to hear where you're coming from. My question is, what is your view on sponsorship marketing in this part of the world that we're in as a CEO?
I think is the most convoluted space you can ever think of. There's a lot of gray areas in that space. And the biggest problem are the players themselves. The people who own brands are a very big part of the problem, in the sense that if you are looking for sponsorship, say for a particular event, you surrender the power of owning that baby to the sponsor, when all you are relying on is a sponsor for the event to happen. If you have a baby and you are my neighbor, I have a baby as well, they are going to the same school. If they go together to that school, it means there's familiarity, they are at home, nobody can bully them, you get it. So they are happy together. If your baby has malaria and can't afford to go to school, should mine stay home as well?
Certainly not.
We've positioned our events, our sponsorships to look like, if Eddie cannot sponsor me, I can't do this function. So we are coming up with glossy ideas instead of coming up with what can work and scale it up. I'm talking to the person looking for sponsorship. Don't overdream. Don't come up with what cannot work. Start small, scale it up. If the sponsors you are targeting are aware that without them you cannot move, they will not give you that money.
Wow.
Or if they know that your project will continue with or without your support, their support, you shall dictate the terms. So we need to be sober enough and arrange things that can run without any injection. Yeah. If you do events like Marketers Night, for instance, our key revenue stream for Marketers Nights is the ticket sale. So we look at the ticket sale and say, this particular event, if you have a budget and you cannot fully finance it from ticket sales, it is an unhealthy event. So we try as much as possible to make sure that we break even on ticket sales, so that then if you attract any sponsorship, it's an additive to the promise, then you can add in a few more things in terms of experience to the people coming. Wow. But the bigger disease is the client themselves. You have people who I'll easily call brand rapists. I'll explain.
Yes.
In value buying,
yes,
the brand custodian is one who takes care of the brand. So much so that, assume the brand is your baby. Brands are our babies. If this brand has diarrhea, has malaria, how are you treating the baby, isn't it? Are you rushing to hospital, checking the temperatures, giving them food, making sure they are warm? Are you getting it? But a lot of us are brand rapists, in the sense that we are in the brand for personal gains. We don't care about the brand value. We are killing our brands.
You've heard that coming from Mr. Kalombo, and we're going to take another break. And when we come back, Mr. Kalombo will dig deep into the question of marketing, and we want to understand the idea of change management in that space. The post-COVID-19 situation in Africa that affected many businesses across the world. How was Marketing Africa Limited, that holds some of the big events across the region of East Africa, able to pull things through? Stay right there. The CEO Bench will be right back after this break.